We have Dr. Gary Goldenberg in-house today. Gary is a dermatologist, but also specializes in dermatopathology.
I thought you were going to screw that up, man.
I didn't.
Oh, well.
I didn't say
I
that.
know.
Which is what? Can you explain what that is exactly?
Sure. If you have a skin biopsy, it gets prepared and put on a slide, and someone has to look at it. So I do that as part of my practice.
Okay. And why dermatology? I mean, what was it? Was there a specific passion? Was there something that brought you into it?
So it's an interesting caveat. So my grandmother was a dermatologist in the old country, as we say. And when I was in medical school, I found myself gravitating to certain aspects of different specialties. And dermatology is so diverse, and it's such a rich specialty that kind of covers everything. So we have a lot of medical conditions that we treat, but there are also a lot of aesthetic or cosmetic conditions that we treat. And it was just very, very interesting. I found it very interesting.
Which is interesting because when you think of dermatology, you immediately think of like
Just
acne,
a
skin conditions.
Yeah, just
like,
that. But it's more.
It's way more.
Because I was looking at your website and was like, started to get, become a hypochondriac thinking I had everything wrong with me because there's so much that you cover that I was like, shit, I didn't even know that everything from, skin conditions to STDs to Botox and things like that. So it really did start to come up and just a lot of questions came in.
So dermatology really is a study or a science of taking care of skin, hair, nails, and mucosa, which is like the wet of your eyelids or the lips or the genitals. So anything in that area could be dermatology. Of course, there's overlap with other specialties like urology and GYN, like you're talking about STDs, but we sort of the external experts, and then there's some internal experts in those same areas.
That's a broad time. I mean, that's a lot to know.
It is,
man.
but what do you find interests people the most? Is it just general skin maintenance? I mean, listen, I'm 42 now, and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing some lines and I'm seeing some dryness going on.
Not me.
I'm getting bags. He's
not you. I'm looking at
also
you.
10
and
years
not
I'm also 10 years older than you. But yeah, so I'm thinking a lot differently than maybe where I was at 22 years old. So
sure, I think it really depends on the individual. There's some patients that come in only when there's a problem, and that's sort of being reactive. And then there's some people who are proactive, which is what I love to, those are the patients that I love to take care of. They really focus on skin health as opposed to skin disease. So certainly if you have acne or psoriasis or eczema, those common skin conditions, rosacea, you're gonna come in if you notice it because they sort of come up. But the people who are really, really in tune with their health and their body are gonna come in and say, hey, I'm 42, what can I do to, look my best at 50 and feel my best at 50 and have the best skin at 50, 60, et cetera? Or I'm 30 and, I'm working really hard, I'm starting a family, what can I do to sort of slow down the clock and make sure that my skin stays looking healthy and young, et cetera, as opposed to being reactive? And I think that's true for probably what you guys do also.
Yeah, do you notice that, and I'm going to ask you to generalize a little bit here, that men or women wait a certain time, like till something's wrong to come in? Is it usually men or women?
So in every study, men don't do as well as women do, and there's some reasons for that. I think men do let things go a little bit later. So a prime example of that is hair loss. So I gave a talk on hair loss yesterday to a local derm society, and one of the jokes I tell patients, and it's really true, is that sometimes a male patient comes in and it's too late for something non-surgical, like transplant is the only option for them. But when women start losing their hair, it's like an emergency. So they come in very early, so there are a lot more treatment options when it's earlier in the process, opposed to waiting until it's too late and you don't have sort of good non-invasive options. So I think that in general terms, men tend to let things go and women don't. But I think being in New York City, we're sort of, it's different. I've practiced in many places in this country, a lot really diverse populations in different geographies, and things are a little bit different here because I think that people here are, and this is probably an overgeneralization, but my patient population is educated and they have good access to healthcare, so they have more means. Ability, they have more means, right?
How much is this a food is medicine approach to the skin and to everything that you do?
I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
It's really everything. So some people are blessed with good genes, and if you're blessed with good genes, then you're going to do better than somebody who doesn't have great genetics when it comes to your skin. I think that diet, and I hate that term, it's really nutrition, is something that is very important. You know, too much alcohol, smoking, tobacco, you know, all of those things, having a rock star lifestyle, as much as that sounds like a lot of fun, when you're 20, it does catch up with you eventually. So I think it's really a combination of all of those things, hydration, nutrition, you know, taking care of your skin. I think for skin health, really the most important is sun protection, and that's something that should be stressed. So it's really wearing sunscreen every day, you know, seeking the shade, not frying, not tanning.
If you had to pick one, sunbathing or tanning bed, which is it? Or are they both awful? Two, is there an SPF where there's a cutoff? Is there a you know,
Yes.
after X amount is that bullshit?
So the first question is both are terrible.
All right.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you're getting your cancer-causing rays from a bed, from a tanning bed in a you know, strip mall somewhere, or you're getting it at in Capri in Italy.
Yeah.
They're both.
So there's
bad.
there's nothing with the vitamin D from the sun rays or.
Well, so there is some vitamin D debate about that, but we know for sure, 100% undeniable, that UV causes skin cells to become malignant, and it causes skin cells to age faster. So what happens with people who have too much sun? They get skin cancer eventually. It's a cumulative exposure play, right? So the sun you got as a teenager can catch up with you later on in life. And people who get too much sun get brown spots, wrinkles, pigmentation. Their skin looks awful as they age. So that's 100%. How does vitamin D fit into the story? Well, you do need some UV exposure to convert to get active vitamin D. But most adults and children can get enough D from diet and supplementation. And if it's packaged correctly, if you're just taking D alone, it doesn't get absorbed. It really needs to be packaged with oil. Fish oil specifically is the best one, or just olive oil, avocado oil, whatever it is that you like. Some kind of fat increases the absorption. So for my patients, it's sun protection, skin cancer prevention, and then if their vitamin D levels are low, then we go to supplementation. In reality, if you have 5 minutes of UV without sunscreen at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's enough to make enough vitamin D.
So how did you formulate your vitamin? That's a vitamin D supplement, correct? So
Correct.
How did you formulate that? How did you
Hold
come
on,
up?
is that more of a vitamin D supplement or more
or
of a fish oil supplement?
Yeah, that was.
It's really both. So they're symbiotic. So fish
oily
oil,
vitamin D.
Fish oil is a great antioxidant, and vitamin D is something that a lot of my patients have low levels of because I yell at them every day about not getting too much sun. So if we check their vitamin D levels and they're 20, but the normal for that lab is 30, we're going to supplement them to make sure that they get up to that normal level.
Okay.
This is sort of like maybe we're getting sidetracked, but this is maybe interesting for your listeners. Normal levels of vitamins are a discussion, okay? And the reason it's a discussion is that I'm 43 years old, my normal vitamin D, or my target, I should say, vitamin D level, is going to be different than somebody who's 80 and 8 because we have different metabolism. We're different as individuals. We have different hormonal pressures that are going to affect our vitamins, et cetera. And that does translate to skin health. That's how I get involved with this. So for some patients, I actually I check a test that looks at everything holistically and tells me what their target vitamin levels are. Not what the normal is, because the normal is like a bell curve, right? You could be here or here, and it's still considered normal. And then based on that target, based on their hormones, age, gender, et cetera, we formulate a custom vitamin for them. There's a lab I use in Canada that makes custom vitamins for patients. And I think it's important for those that want to not just sustain, but really exceed.
Aren't the recommendations bracketed between certain ages, so you shouldn't follow that? Or I don't understand how I can figure out what's good for me, because it's clearly not the same as it is for Don,
Right.
or you.
So there are normal and abnormal levels. Okay, so vitamin D is an interesting one to take because no one really knows what the normal vitamin D levels are. Okay, it's sort of like a number that people pick, and there's some studies to support it, but it's not like you can have a population and you can say, okay, you take vitamin D and you have this number, and you don't take it because we don't want people to be deficient. It's not a study that anyone would be willing to do. So it's based on populations. You look at 100,000 people and you say, who fits into the bell curve? Where does the bell curve fit in? 18 and over, let's say. right? Say the normal is between 30 and 60. I'm just picking arbitrary numbers here because they are somewhat arbitrary.
Okay.
You say everyone should be over 30 because that's where 80% of the population is. And if you're below 30, perhaps you're deficient, right? But all of the studies with vitamin D are not cause and effect. So there's studies that show that low vitamin D levels cause cancer. But it's not a controlled environment. It's not like you have a population that you're following over time. It's retrospective. It's different kind of evidence.
Yeah, but that's very common.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, that's a problem with a lot of this research.
That's kind of like
it's exactly right.
Yeah.
So all we can do is use the information we have available to the best of our abilities to make an educated guess, essentially, right?
Right.
And that's what some of these tests are. So we do know that if your levels of vitamin D are 10, they probably are really low. But if they're 30 and the lab says 35 is normal, is it really low? Well, maybe you want to increase it a little, but it's not really, really abnormal. But getting back to your initial question, I know for a fact that if you go out and get a sunburn, it's going to catch up with you later and you might get a skin cancer. But I can supplement you with vitamin D with fish oil, and your vitamin D is going to be fine and you're going to be functioning and healthy.
The SPF question, what's the magic number?
So the magic number is higher is better.
Okay.
Okay. So at some point, the FDA was going to get rid of anything that's above 50. They were going to say 50 plus. And then actually one of my mentors did a study where they put 50 on one side of the face and 100 on another, and they went skiing. And the side that had 100 had less sun exposure, less sun damage than the 50. It doesn't mean that you need it every day. So for every day, anything above 30 is really okay. But if you're going to be out at the beach playing baseball, football, whatever, doing stuff in the middle of the day,
zinc.
Zinc is great. You really want to go as high as possible. So this is what I tell my patients. When you go to the drugstore, pick a trusted brand that's water resistant and has an SPF of 50 or higher, and get whatever has the lowest cost per ounce.
Spray or cream?
No spray. Spray is bad. So cream lotion is better than spray. Because with spray, especially you can't do it in the face because you might inhale it, and that irritates can irritate your breathing. And if it gets into your eyes, it's not good. And then with sprays, even if they're no rub, you still really need to rub them in. But with cream or lotion, you really are better off. So 50 or higher, water resistant, best price per ounce, as long as it's a trusted brand, you'll be in good shape.
Let's give the listeners some basics, maybe just some specific things that they should be diving in on for skin health in general.
So I think skincare is very important for both men and women. I think most men kind of overlook it. So a lot of times you ask a guy what they use to wash their face and body, and they say water and shampoo, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Right? So, or it's like whatever my spouse buys, or whatever's in the shower, whatever's in the hotel, whatever is at the gym. So I like to keep things simple. You guys know the KISS principle. Okay, so I really
keep
believe
it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, silly.
Whatever you like.
We don't say stupid in our house.
Depends on who you're talking to.
dumb.
Yeah, I have 3 kids. We don't say stupid either.
Oh man,
Silly.
So I think simplicity is important. So I usually recommend something very simple, like a gentle cleanser or something that you may need if you have some acne or body acne, something that's antibacterial. So a cleanser twice a day, morning and night. You should wash your face, and then obviously you're washing your body in the shower once a day. Then every morning sunscreen. Whether it's winter or summer, you should use a sunscreen every morning. I think most women have sort of done this instinctively. A lot of their makeup would have sunscreen already. For guys that shave every day, it's actually pretty simple. I just tell them to use a sunscreen lotion as an aftershave, and since I already have it out, put some on your forehead, your nose, your ears, neck, arms, whatever's exposed to the elements, whatever's not covered by your clothing. That's morning. Wash, sunscreen. Easy, right? Simple. In the evening, you wash your face or body, whatever it is, if you shower at night. And then I like to use some anti-aging products. So retinol, which is a vitamin A derivative, probably has the most evidence for anti-aging. And then vitamin C, vitamin E, antioxidants, just something simple.
Cream,
and then lock it in with a moisturizer.
Interesting.
So it's a very simple approach. And of course, if you want to layer some other stuff later, like hyaluronic acid. You want to use a serum.
What about toners, et cetera? Do you recommend?
And all those things are great.
Okay.
But if you're just starting out,
Yeah, start with the basics.
start with the basics, because sometimes I feel like if I give patients too much to do, they'll never get started.
Yeah, yeah.
If I exercise, say 5 to 7 times a week, does that mean my skincare routine or just my routine in general has to change, or like, do I have to up the ante with it?
It depends. If you're prone to acne, or if you get acne from exercising, from sweating, there are two things that I often recommend. One is getting out of your sweaty clothing as soon as possible. Even if you don't have a chance to shower, just putting on a dry shirt, so that kind of the, even
You're not festering in the sweat.
exactly. So it's not, even these shirts that are like,
Like the sweat
wick
wicking,
away.
yeah.
I don't, if you're really sweating,
Yeah, no,
I
get
don't think
on.
it does much. So you got to change your clothing, and you got to get in the shower and wash with something antibacterial. Since probably most of your listeners work out, Staph and MRSA love to live at the gym. Okay, and it's not just like if you're laying
my
down on a
gym.
mat.
In my mind, man, these are actually questions.
It's not like if you're just laying down on the floor where people are walking. There was lots of studies. This was big maybe 10 years ago. Door handles, computer keyboards, so anywhere you put your phone. These are great places for bacteria to live because it's sweaty. It's lots of people go through there. So you got to get in the shower and wash yourself with something antibacterial.
How often should I change my pillowcase?
Well, it really depends on how much you're sweating. Probably at least once a week.
Okay.
There were some influencers who said that their acne got better if they changed it every day. I'm not buying it. But if you're still breaking out and you think your pillowcase is kind of gross, then just change it more often.
I change it twice a week.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, twice a week.
I'm not telling you what I do then.
Well, it's not me changing it. It's my cleaning woman. So I gotta go
yeah.
I actually don't know what we do
I'm the
because
cleaning woman.
I'm my cleaning woman twice a week, so I assume it's twice a week. I'm going to really guess any bit different. What else, Zach?
Toothpaste for pimples.
that's a great question. If you're in a pinch, if you have a juicy one that you're thinking about popping, put a little bit fluorinated toothpaste in there. It will dry it out, but you will get some redness and inflammation from it.
Popping pimples or blackheads?
Bad. Don't do it because if you don't have the right tool, because there's a tool to do it. It's called a comedone extractor. It's like a little round thing. If you just pop it, some of it will come out, but invariably most of it is going to go back into your skin, cause inflammation, and that's what's going to
Infection, right? Yeah.
infection and scarring.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of kids get acne scarring.
Popping your pimples.
But I
Come
like
to
it.
me. Let me do it.
Facial exercises for wrinkles.
What a great question. So
I didn't write them.
I'm sure you never
Yeah.
get these, right?
This is like a Shark Tank episode that I just watched. I don't buy it because botulinum toxin, which is mostly known as Botox, and there are 4 different forms of Botox approved in U.S., specifically opposes muscle movements in your face. Because the way people get etched in wrinkles is like if you had a shirt and you're just kind of wrinkling it, right? And you do this a few million times, you're going to get a wrinkle that doesn't go away. So when you do facial exercises, essentially what you're doing, if you're frowning, you're going to get those 11s or 111 lines between your eyebrows. So I tell patients not to do it because what we do with Botox is the exact opposite of facial exercises. I'm not saying your forehead should be paralyzed like my forehead, but less movement is better for wrinkle prevention.
Did you ever do Botox?
Never.
No?
I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Would you do it or no? It's safe, right?
I mean, my forehead has not moved since 2003.
Now I'm staring at it. It's unbelievable. I probably not. I just don't really. I don't know enough about it, and I'm not.
I think if the rest of me was worth it, I would probably get it. But it's like this is as good as it gets. So.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I didn't even notice that you had it
I didn't either until you said that.
until you said it. No.
Well, there's a tasteful way of doing it, and then there's the LA way where everything is sort of overdone.
So there's not. So there's no long-term effects on it. Is there any? Or are there any long-term health benefits from it?
So Botox is the most commonly and safest used cosmetic procedure in the world. Mm-hmm. Now, interestingly, there is a health benefit. There are some studies that show that getting Botox actually improves depression symptoms. And we think it's just because, initially, like
People are feeling better about themselves?
Well, you think that, right? But in fact, what happens is that when you frown, it makes your nervous system think that something is wrong, and if you're frowning all the time, it's going to get you depressed. If you can't make that movement, the biofeedback loop that makes your brain think that something is wrong is inhibited, and we may actually feel happier.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's like, when you're in a bad mood, people say just smile and it gets you in a better mood.
Yeah.
Just doing that just sends some kind of a signal. It's probably something evolutionary to our
smile.
brain.
I'm not.
Don't smile.
I won't do it.
Ruin it.
No, I know. When people say that to me, though, I'm like, what do you know? Money. So, but no, that is interesting. Last one, beard oil. Is it worth it or is it snake oil?
What was the question?
Beard oil,
beard oil.
Sometimes my beard
Just
is
continue
thicker.
to not shower, and it's fine.
Well, I know that's nice and greasy, but I want to know what the doctor thinks.
I think it's good to moisturize your hair. It's sort of like a conditioner for a beard. I don't think there's any evidence one way or another.
Okay.
This is not unless you get acne because it's oil. It can't hurt you. So if you don't have a reaction to it, it's fine.
Ketogenic diet. Okay. Effects on the skin.
I think that any diet that is extreme is probably not healthy long term. So for me as a dermatologist, I think every patient that I see with an inflammatory condition like acne or psoriasis or rosacea or eczema, they may not ask me, but their burning question is it something I'm eating or is it something that I'm not eating? So I never recommend keto as a diet. In fact, I know 2 people that recently had kidney stones while they were on keto. I don't know if it's anecdotal or it's really cause and effect, but I think that a diet should be balanced in complex carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables, some lean proteins, mostly fish, and I recommend no white flour, no white sugar.
How about that, huh?
Just keeping it simple.
No, but how about that?
And I love the diet that I recommend to patients is anti-inflammatory. So anything that has preservatives is junk. Okay, soda is junk. Anything that you can get that's going to be prepackaged, frozen, processed, it's junk.
Sure.
So, there are some things that I personally do that I think work for me, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you or for you. Everyone is different, but the basic principles of having lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, food that's not been processed, and, lean protein, mostly fish, I think is healthy, and it helps with skin conditions. I really believe it.
Certain influencers are saying things that work for them at the present time. And then, the general public, they're going to believe it. It's not their profession. Like there are things out there that I don't do that I'm unfamiliar with, that if I heard someone say, I'd be like, oh, wow, really? But when you have someone with a great physique and they have great skin, it might be because of genetics or just because of
everything they're doing.
But the one of the biggest questions I get with nutrition is, I'm trying to lose weight. Should I do the ketogenic diet? And I've spoken to plenty of doctors, Dr. Perlmutter, certain doctors that promote it for their own lifestyle, but they'll even say, they're like, listen, this is something that I'll use as a tool here and there, or I'm not always on it, or even someone like myself that doesn't believe in it, I put myself into ketosis for 4 weeks a year just because I need a little mental break, but it's not a diet I believe in for long term.
Okay. Over under. You're going to tell us if this is overrated or underrated.
Okay.
Men-specific products.
Overrated.
Why is that?
It's packaging.
So I
knew it. It's packaging.
I knew that.
I
knew that.
It's gray, purple, and black versus like silver and pink.
I'm going to throw another one in there. Coconut oil.
For stretch marks, people swear by it. I think in general, for any kind of an oil, if you're not acne prone, if your skin is not acne prone, then oil is fine. For some patients, it just tends to clog their pores. Even there are some oils that claim that they help with acne. It's not for every patient. Mm-hmm. So if you want to try it, you can try it, but don't buy like the Costco size bottle. Buy something small, because if it's not for you, it's kind of easier to eat it.
So you got to give it a test run before you know if it's going to work for you or not.
Just like anything.
Right. Last one, exfoliating.
It's underrated. Exfoliating is very important for both for men and for women, because what happens is, so this is a little science lesson for the day. So your skin takes about 28 days on average to go from the very bottom, the basal layer, so the bottom, until it gets to the top and then sloughs off, because we're constantly sloughing off our skin cells. And healthier looking skin is the skin that has fewer of those dead cells on the surface. So you don't need to scrub to exfoliate. You could use something inexpensive and simple like salicylic acid, which you can get, or alpha hydroxy acid, which every pharmacy you can buy.
What about the gloves?
A
What about
wash.
the loofah gloves very lightly around your
They're
skin?
fine.
Do you have those?
They're totally fine if you want to do it. I mean, for me, just keeping it simple, I like exfoliating with something that I'm already doing. So I need to wash my face twice a day. I might as well have something that's going to exfoliate in the wash.
I like
so
that. I like that too.
It's good. It's a good idea.
STDs.
Go
Now,
figure.
what is the most common one that somebody comes in and honestly, has this ever happened to you? Somebody comes in and they're just like, "What is this?" and just like drop trow and then just totally spooks
Can I-
you.
Only at dinner
guess?
parties.
I bet, dude.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah,
Chlamydia.
I thought it would be HPV.
So
Gonorrhea.
I don't see chlamydia or gonorrhea in my practice unless it travels with something else. So my practice, and I have a lot of patients with sexually transmitted infections. I would say that majority of that is HPV. Some molluscum, which is another virus that you get from another person.
Molluscum contagiosum.
That's right. Kids get it a lot from other kids, and it's not considered an STD. But in most adults, it is an STD, and of course, herpes. Herpes is very, very common.
Okay, pick a side. So, I'm going to ask you two questions, and you're just going to pick which one is better. Soap versus body wash.
Same.
Really?
They both accomplish the same thing. Now,
Man.
if you're using something that you can smell from across the room, whether it's soap or body wash, it's not for you. For anybody, in fact. I tell all my patients, you don't have to stink, but you don't have to smell like flowers or Irish Spring or whatever it is.
More cost effective though. What I find, I like using a bar of soap. All right, it's just easier for me to just scrub with. When I'm using body wash, I feel like I have to use half the container to wash my entire body. It's always, I don't know.
It's a personal
I'm
preference.
a body wash guy, but because I thought soap dried out your
Use
skin. That's what I was
Axe
always told. No.
It depends on the quality and what you're using. If you're using something that is scented with natural oils or natural scents,
Okay.
that's fine. If you're using something that has what's called fragrance mix, which is a bunch of chemicals that are in every single product that you can smell, and then there's a different mix to give it different scents. In a lot of people, it causes contact allergy, dry skin, irritation, can make your eczema worse.
Told you. No.
It's,
Don and I are going to go out and buy something, and you saw us coming back with it, and it was a total piece of garbage. What would that be?
So the biggest waste of money for skincare
Yes.
is overpriced products that come in very small bottles, because people think if they're buying and I don't want to name brands, but if they think they're buying a $400 under eye cream, it's going to work better than $20 eye cream.
Yeah.
It's probably the same product in different packaging.
Yeah.
So I think, people who spend thousands of dollars on skincare, I mean, it's good for them if they can afford it, but I think there's better ways to spend money.
How much would your products run?
So our products are kind of medium priced, anywhere between $30 to $100 for depending on what it is.
Okay.
Whereas if
That's
you go,
completely fair for what looks like a very high-end skin.
and because we basically skip all the middle people, right?
Yeah.
We skip all the distributors, because every retail product, every time you buy it, it's 100% markup plus.
Right.
Right. So if you're buying something for $20 and 4 people have touched it, it really costs $5 to make.
On the other side of that coin, what is, I believe, blank is worth the money? Like, what is it that we should be investing in?
So I think for skin health in general, I think sunscreen is the most important thing that you can do to keep your skin looking great and keep it healthy. Because a good sunscreen may save you from having skin cancer, may save you from having wrinkles, lines down the road, pigmentation. And, if there's one thing that your listeners sort of take from today, is that you should use sunscreen every day. I mean, that's really a very, very, I don't want to sound like a public service announcement, but it's really, really important.
Gym bag essentials.
We're going to the gym together, Don and I. What's got to be in our gym bag? What are you can name maybe 3 or 5 essentials that we gotta have?
Well, what are you doing there? You asked me for exercise.
I'll
you
be
asked me
watching
for
Don work out as I just lounge.
I think this is more about skincare.
Yeah.
So making sure you have dry clothing or change of clothes, I think, is very important. If your skin is sensitive or if you have some sort of a skin condition that precludes you from using whatever, dispenser, soap dispenser, shampoo dispenser they have in there, I always recommend bring your own stuff.
Okay. But you have good stuff.
I think that if you go to a gym where you're not sure how well they wash their towels, it's good to bring your own towels. And flip-flops are a must.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very common for men to pick up fungus at the gym, especially if you go to like a sauna or schwitz. You walk, all that humidity just makes all that stuff grow. And they can scrub it as much as they want. You're still going to get some gross stuff in there.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You were a pleasure to have on, and I can tell you
Appreciate
one thing.
it.
I think there's a lot more topics that we can cover with him.
Yeah.
So I think we should do this again at some point.
I'd love
That's
to.
cool
A
with you.
huge list still. over that.
Dr. Gary Goldenberg. Okay.
You guys
our
say the
episode-
profession again, because I couldn't say it
It
again.
was.
couldn't say it the
wait,
first
hold
time.
on. I have it written down. Dermatopathology.
Wow.
Close enough.
But I have to read it.
Yeah,
How do you say it?
Dermatopathology.
Dermatopathology. Boo.
I would have just said dermatologist because I wouldn't have been able to do
He's a
it. but-
dermatologist that specializes in dermatopathology.
Yes.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Thank
Reps
you, Dr.
episode number. I think honestly, it's like Reps episode. What do you think it really is?
60 something, 50
Probably
something,
70.
70,
I think it's 70. Let's call it 70. It's a
Sure.
special number.
70.
Reps episode number 70. Dr. Gary Goldenberg. We have Zraz over here on
At
Instagram.
Don Saladino, and where can we find you?
At Goldenberg Derm on Instagram, and our website is goldenbergdermatology.com.
You can find him on the Upper East Side. He does not hand out bandages with, Puffy the Dragon like Zach likes. I mean, this is big time stuff here. I'm excited to try these products. His clarifying cleanser, which I'm going to use,
The
and
moisturizer.
I was running low on my
I just
Omegas and
actually
vitamin
just
D.
ran out of my vitamin D, so this saves me a trip to the store. Yeah, I got mine.
Guys. If you have any questions, we are reps at muscleandfitness.com. Can't believe we're not even reading off of like a cue card right
Not
now.
anymore.
We're like,
Yeah, we got it.
until next time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.